Eddie.
Johnny Katz, what's going on, brother?
Not much.
Yeah?
Just having my first whiskey of the day.
Me too, man. I'm actually straight from the gym. No protein shake. This is
Cheers.
the old school protein shake, you know? The original.
Do you like whiskey?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, yeah, what is that?
Shivers.
Plug? Sponsorship deal coming up any day now.
Yeah. Shivers. Is that your go-to? What's your go-to drink?
Tequila, man. I'm a big tequila guy.
Fuck.
I used to live in Mexico. Well, I lived in South America for ages, so...
Everyone drinks it?
Not everyone, but like in Mexico they do, mezcal and tequila. But when I was saving the money to get over there, I was working at a restaurant called Mamacita in the city, and they got me hooked on the tequila real hard.
Yeah?
Yeah, this was back when Mamacita was slamming, you know?
All right.
And yeah, we used to do a lot of tastings. I mean, for me, my tequila experience was probably the same as everybody's, where like I got on it when I was like 16, 17, the really cheap stuff with the worm.
Yeah.
I remember I got like a...
Is it cheap stuff with the worm? I
Yeah.
thought the good stuff was with the worm.
Nah, not really. Well, yeah, so it is supposed... So the idea behind the worm is if it was too ethanol-y, then the worm would like deteriorate, right? So if you kept the worm in it, don't quote me on this, but if you kept the worm in it, that was meant to be the quality. But the stuff you get here is shit house.
So the worm is like the canary down the mine.
100%.
So if the worm's intact and in shape and it's an old bottle, then it's good.
Then you know you've got the good shit.
Because the ethanol hasn't disintegrated.
Exactly. But that doesn't really apply here in Australia. So this was like a cheap bottle. I just got a new beanie, right? You know, when you're a kid, like 16, you get a new beanie, you're wearing it out, you know? You're taking that beanie for a spin.
Yeah.
And got the bottle, and there was the worm in the bottom, and everyone was cheering me on. I chugged down the bottle, choked on the worm, spewed in my beanie, you know, ruined it. So
How big's the
haven't thought about that in a while.
How big's the worm?
The worm was like, I don't know, like that big, you know, just a little guy, but
Do they throw him in alive or dead?
it's a special kind of worm, I know that much.
Yeah.
I'd hope alive. I'd hope that's how they go out. You know, what's a worm's life?
That'd be all right.
Probably not amazing. So if you go drowning on tequila, it's not the worst way to go.
No,
you know?
be good.
You rather that or get eaten by a fish, you know?
Yeah, and tequila's like I've had very, very good tequila, and it blew me away. I had no idea how fucking good it could be, because all the tequila I've been exposed to is the shit stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like really cautious of it.
Yeah. If you're drinking really good tequila, and like 100% recommend everybody do this at some stage, you should all get drunk on nothing but tequila. Like no beer, no nothing. Just tequila and water. And it's like a high, like it's a real buzz. It's a really euphoric high.
For
you get
real,
off it.
man?
Yeah, bro. It's a totally different kind of drug. You can really be buzzing, you know?
How do you have to take it? On the rocks?
Mate, I just slam it in shots. I mean, like, I drink a lot of margaritas as well. Margaritas is my go-to these days. Like, I only drink margies. It's pretty
Do
fucked.
you really?
Yeah,
You're sophisticated,
mate.
fuck. I
Yeah,
love it.
that. Well,
I'll drink anything that's going. What's on the rider?
exactly.
You know, I can
Yeah, there's
take it.
rarely a margarita on the rider, but like for me, it is sophisticated, I suppose, to a sense. But then sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I realise I must have drank the juice of about 19 lemons last night. Like, what's going on in me guts? And I ate 4 or 5 tablespoons of salt somewhere along the line there. So the hangovers get rough, but yeah, margaritas are my go-to, man. I fucking love them.
All right, well, I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to get drunk on top quality tequila. Nothing but tequila for the whole night.
Next time you come and do On the Gags,
Yeah,
take a night off the next day, and we'll do it.
and we'll do that.
And we'll do it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we'll do nothing but tequila. We got a big comedy fest run coming up, so we'll get you back on for sure.
All right, well, let's talk about that gig you're on, because I think it's it's a fantastic room, and I think all comedians should get a chance to do it. I think it's brilliant, and I think the audience was great. It's in Collingwood.
Yeah, in Abbotsford. Yeah, Collingwood, Abbotsford, kind of right on the border there.
Is
yeah.
it
Bodriggy.
Bodriggy.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
Upstairs, Stingrays upstairs is what it's called, yeah.
It reminded me of a New York club.
Oh, I've never been to a New York comedy club, but thank you.
It's got that rectangular, like you play to a rectangle.
Yeah.
And everyone's squashed in. There's
Yeah.
a balcony.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just got.
Look, my idea behind that, because I'm really new to stand-up, right? Well, I did it years ago, but we can talk about that later, but I'm like newly back into it. I only did it in 2019. I did School of Hard Knock Knocks, met Jared Goundry, who I know has done this potto before.
Yeah.
Great man. Shout out Jared Goundry. I love that guy. He's been so supportive, and he really encouraged me to do more.
He's a good man.
He's a really good man. He would send me texts just out of the blue, like, "You're a great comedian. You should crack on with it." When catch me at times when I wasn't feeling the best too. So shout out Jared Goundry. He's a great guy. But anyway, I entered Raw, right, and on this bit that I wrote, and it got me into the state finals, and then my best mates run Bod Riggy, so they've been kind enough to let me run that room. But I still feel really new. Like, I've only done stand-up a few open mics. It's hard to get a room at the moment, right? Because everything's just opening back up.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a spot, and I get a little bit of imposter syndrome sometimes. So when I'm on the gags, when we put together on the gags, it's so much of that is from Bod Riggy, like, getting behind me. And we really just want to make it something different, like a point of difference. So that whole idea of the disco ball, of the DJ, of the smoke machine, you go to so many open mics. I think sometimes that can be so awkward, right? Having to sit through just one comedian after another. So we try and mix it up, and we also.
Yeah. Who's that guy that cuts in on the side of stage?
Mate, he's not usually there.
Okay. Throughout the whole gig, there was a guy side of stage.
Right.
I think his name is Stingray.
Stingray, it's
he
his
just
room.
interrupts your set.
It's awful, bro. I was mortified. Like, I love the guy. He's a good friend of mine, but he was.
Well, I don't think he likes me because during my set he interrupted, and I was in the middle of getting some piece of info out, and I ignored him. And then afterwards, I came off stage and I extended my hand as if to say I'm really sorry. But when I'm up there, I just
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but in a very polite way. I said it's just. And I think he was too pissed.
He was just too pissed, man.
I think he was too pissed.
Usually we've got an actual DJ, but our DJ wasn't available that night. He was gone away. We found out last minute. Stingray, that's his room. Stingray's upstairs. But
well, say that again, because we were all in his bedroom.
Yeah.
The actual gig is his fucking bedroom.
Exactly, dude.
But don't let it put you off. It's a magnificent club. If you can get to it to go see live comedy, you'll fucking love it.
Thank you for saying that. It's a beautiful
It's electric.
room. Yeah, man. It is. And we pack it out, and we got good tunes on, and usually, like with Stingray, he was like giving a heckler a microphone, I was mortified, because all of a sudden this guy's cutting off everybody.
What I found when I realised Stingray, you fucked up, is when Dave O'Neill was on stage.
Fuck, dude.
And he's walked on stage, he's taken the microphone off Dave O'Neill and gone, "Sit down, Dave, let me tell you about stand-up, how it's done." And I went, "Oh, fuck."
Bro, and then he just died in the ass straight away. Yeah, that's all he had.
Yeah, and I
bro.
think, you went in like a rifleman about to put down his horse.
Oh.
And got him off.
Bro, it was a tough one.
He's a good sport, though.
Look, he added something different to it, and I think that,
but it's not going to be a common feature.
Definitely not, bro.
All right.
Yeah, I want it to be a really safe space for comedians. Not like safe space like, oh, come in and just be the most racist bloke on earth, but safe space like, all different shapes and sizes of comedians, and also something that's really important that Bod Riggy have been great with getting behind is like, we really want everyone to get paid and, to just feel like they get to play in front of a packed room. I'm really lucky to have this amazing media team with Bottos that get behind me, and we really promote it. And, that's just how I want it to be, My dad is a pretty talented muso that never really made any money. He did okay.
Yeah, he was in a big band. What was it?
He's in the Models. Yeah, man. They're awesome.
He was the keyboardist, you told me?
Yeah. Yeah, no. So, I mean, look, they
did fine. Do you have
fine.
memories of that with your dad? Like,
absolutely, man. Like,
did he take you on tour? And
well, when I was a kid, my mum passed away when I was really young, and it was just me and my dad, and he was still playing. Like, I'm sure you remember, but I grew up in Richmond, and it used to just be like dive bars, like the Great Britain Hotel and the Corner Hotel, and like even down Chapel Street, where the Lucky Cock was the Duke of Windsor. We used to go there every Sunday. Like,
I remember it was rough. All my uncles that came from Greece lived in Richmond, hence why I'm a tiger, because a lot of Greeks migrated there because it was just the point of entry is where you went when you were povo, when you came off the boat.
100%. Struggle Town, they used to call it.
Yeah. That's why a lot of Greeks are Richmond supporters.
Absolutely.
And now Vietnamese, obviously.
Yeah, well, when I was so now it's all like yoga pants and stuff, but when I was a kid, it was like CDs in the lemon tree, CD in the fig tree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just me and my dad, and like I would sort of go out in the front yard, I'd be naked, just, chatting away. I was like Donald Duck, man. I'd always have a shirt on, no pants. That was my vibe, And all the old Greek ladies in the street, they'd come and take me and like dress me up in their son's clothes, you know. So I always
Really?
had, yeah. And I'd come home with a plate of halak or whatever.
Galactic booty call.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Greek's equivalent of vanilla slice.
Yeah, it's good, man. It was
fucking good.
Oh, yeah. Greek Easter was crazy around my joint. Like, because, you know.
How old are you, Eddie?
36.
Okay, yeah, you're not far off from me, so similar gen.
Yeah, so my dad being a single dad at the time, like for those first few years before he met my stepmom, you know, like we had all these old Greek ladies that were looking out for us. And my mates used to say I was raised by a pack of wild wogs. That's what we used to say.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's a great show title.
Oh, yeah, isn't it?
Right, raised by a pack of wild wogs.
Can you say wogs anymore? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, it's nowhere near the N word, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah.
And you can call me a wog, but if I didn't know you, I'd be like, why's this cunt calling me a wog for?
Of course. And I get that.
It's like 4 out of 10 if the N word is 10 out of 10, you know?
Yeah. But when I was like 14, 15, Wog Boy was out, and then Wog Boy 2, and it was like Full Frontal and Eric Banner, and like that was like a full sort of genre of comedy, you know? Like,
it's fine, man. It's fine.
All right. Well, I don't mean to offend.
No, you don't. I think it's a very different meaning, but I think it just, you know, it's context. If I know you, you can call me a wog. But if this was a job interview, tell us about yourself, wog. Yeah. You know, then I'd be like, fuck, what the fuck?
I totally get that, and I know, and I understand that it came from a really bad place. You know, like it definitely, yeah.
See, in the UK, because I lived in London for 10 years, they didn't like me using the word wog because that was gollywog.
Yeah, right.
Totally different fucking meaning, and I did a couple of gigs in silence. Until someone said, "Oh, dude, I hope you know that when you're saying wog, you're talking about black people." I'm
really?
Like, Jesus.
Because to us, it was like a flu, right? Like when you came over on the boats, you brought a wog with you, like you brought a flu. You have, you know, like is that right? It was like a sickness,
something like that. Some sickness.
Yeah. Well, cheers to the wog. I love them. You know, I was stoked with where I grew up. It was a really beautiful place, and I got really well looked after by all the old Greek nonnas, the yayas and stuff.
So your dad would take you on tour with you? Would that happen?
We would never really went on tour. Like my dad ended up making a lot of music for commercials and TV and stuff, so he was working a fair bit in Melbourne. Like, you know, Round the Twist. You ever see that show, Round the Twist?
No.
Nah, you know Round the Twist, bro. All these kids, they lived in a lighthouse.
On an island?
I guess every lighthouse is kind of on an island, right?
I guess.
Yeah, but it was like all these kids lived in a lighthouse. Anyway, it was a real famous show. Like, you might have been just that little bit too old, but like, you're what? How old are you?
I'm 45.
Yeah, so it was, exactly. So it was when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Was it on TV at like 4:30?
Yeah, 100%.
Man,
ABC.
I think I remember something.
And the song was like, have you ever felt like this when strange things happen? Are you going round the twist? Anyway, it was
Your dad wrote that jingle?
My dad wrote that jingle. He wrote jingles, man. He wrote jingles for Macca's and Bonds and Hard Yakka.
Sick.
You remember that one? Hard Yakka.
Did your dad write Hard Yakka?
Yeah.
You're fucking kidding me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Hard
absolutely.
Yakka.
Yeah.
Hard Yakka.
Yeah, rock and roll royalty,
Hard
mate.
Yakka.
Yeah.
What a fantastic ad.
Yeah, it was a beauty.
The tune is hypnotic.
100%.
I wish I could if I can get a clip, I'll attach it to this because it was a great clip.
He wrote a couple of beauties, man. He wrote Where Else But Queensland. You remember that one? Where Else But Queensland. It was like a Queensland ad. He wrote Chocolate is Cadbury, which he hated. You know, that was really... Chocolate, it was really brutal.
Chocolate is Cadbury is chocolate.
Your dad wrote that? Yeah, he hated that one, man.
Cool.
He'll be so embarrassed.
How does he go to work? Does he smoke a joint and then start fucking creating?
He's not a big... Like, I'm a huge weed guy, right? I used to be. But Dad was... Dad's just one of those dudes, man. He just sits down in front of a keyboard and it just, like, comes out of him really naturally.
That's
great.
I'm just... seriously, man. Like, there's a couple of ads that... are so Australian to me.
100%.
You know, VB.
Oh, yeah.
Hard Yakka.
Hard Yakka's a beauty.
Hit him with the old P-bow. Hit him high and low. Something go. Hit him with the old P-bow.
Yeah.
Vegemite, the Vinegar Girl.
Obviously Vegemite. Dad did a version of Vegemite. You know, like... Yeah, like...
Did your dad do Sayo biscuit? When you want a snack, reach for a Sayo biscuit. No, you can't beat a Sayo, that's a fact. Go there crisp and light with the size just right. and make any topping you like. So,
I wish, mate. You know, I'm sure that's a hell of a tune. I don't remember that one.
dude, I fucking the freakiest one is Snack Attack. I remember Snack Attack when I was a kid on a BMX. There's a bunch of kids on a BMX riding, and it was like chocolate mousse, and I was like, "Mum, get me Snack Attack," because the jingle just stuck in my head.
Well, that's how they get you.
Yeah.
A couple of kids on a BMX and a good jingle.
That's it.
What about Cantong? That stuff was absolute dog shit, but everyone's eating a Cantong.
All right, your dad needs to get shot in the head if he created Chicken Tonight.
Oh, God, no.
Oh,
Nah,
fuck, he's off the hook.
Absolutely not. Nah. Chocolate is Cadbury is about as brutal as it ever got.
Oh.
Yeah, Chicken Tonight and Cantong, again, like, you wouldn't make those ads in 2022, I tell you what.
No. See what happens with artists, man? We have to diversify in Australia. You've got to do
100%.
other things. There's just not enough bums on seats to sustain your income like the UK or America.
Agreed.
You could just tour there. Like, I lived in the UK for 10 years doing stand-up, and a lot of comics keep telling me, oh, man, what was it like? And I'm like, pretty easy.
Yeah.
You just do an audition. You do well for 10. They ask you to do another 10. You do well for that other 10, and then you're on the books.
Yeah, right.
You just get paid work.
Yeah, right.
You're an unknown working comic that makes about $700-800 a week.
Crazy.
And that's it.
That's impossible here, man.
It's impossible. You got to be somebody.
Yeah.
When I say somebody, you got to have someone representing you, or you
Yeah.
got to be affiliated with radio or TV.
It seems to me like there's only a few really good, like, there's a few radio gigs, there's the project, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, there's a couple of avenues for comedians in this country. But I think, excuse me, that's a whiskey. I think what's changing is stuff like this. I think that that's changing globally, that comedians can start seeking out their own audience, can make their own content.
Well,
there's a
look
couple of kids in Melbourne that are doing a great job of that.
Well, Lewis Spears
Yeah.
and Carl Chandler, they fucking did it all by themselves.
Yeah. Dan Rosario, he's going to be massive one
Dan,
day.
he's
killing
getting
it.
a big following.
Alessio Carducci as well. I got
Yeah.
a lot of respect for that guy. He makes some funny videos.
Yeah, they're just building it up by themselves.
Well, it's just about like content, right? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, I feel like they just constantly produce stuff. You know,
Yeah.
some of them miss, but when they hit hard. You know, that's what it's all about.
Pretty much.
It's an exciting time for that. Like, because with my old man, he signed to Mushroom when he was so young, and they just take everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Really?
yeah, usually.
Massive cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck.
That's how the music industry works, right? Like, you know, you sign up and yeah, they take the lion's share.
When did you learn that? Would he tell you as when you were a kid, like, this is how shit they are, or
No, like I don't think that he's.
or did you learn after the fact?
Yeah, it was more after the fact, and I know a lot of people because of my dad. I got to meet a lot of people that were in the industry. You know what I mean? And it just seemed to be a pretty universal thing that there was a lot of people with a lot of talent that missed out on kind of the big paychecks. You know what I mean? So getting back to what we were talking about with on the gags, yeah, it's really important to me that people get paid, even if it's like, you know, whatever. So for some people, it's their first paid gig, and that's really cool to me. Like I would, yeah, that, and we always try and have a photographer or a videographer there so we can get cash and content. I hope that that's what people get out of it, and a really fun gig, you know, because man, sometimes you go and do those gigs and it's like 4 people in a bar that don't even want you to be there, and it's like, you know, if you can get a good one in every now and again.
Oh,
like,
mate. Oh, I know the feeling.
Bro, they're so hard, those things, man.
I've often wondered what would my family think if they followed me, if they just followed me for a week and they saw me do a gig at Dirty Secrets in front of 3 people to hardly any laughs, and then the next day do the same material at your gig and get big laughs. Yeah, I would just wonder what they would think of that. I'm sure they'd be scratching their head going, that's so strange. Like,
yeah.
They weren't laughing, and why did you even go? Why did you even perform when you know it works? And it's like, well, you got to keep working it.
100%. I think what's crazy about it too is like like with my dad, he started playing the piano when he was like 4 or 5 years old, and he was quite young. And you can, if you want to be in Guns N' Roses, you can sit in your garage and play the guitar 18 hours a day until you get good at it. But with comedy, you don't know what's funny until you're standing in front of people. You know, you might work on something all week and then just bomb it so hard in front of everyone. Like the first time I did stand-up.
When was that, by the way, if I could take you back?
So I was like 17 or 18 years old, probably.
In Melbourne?
In Melbourne at the Comics Lounge, right? Huge. So I was part of like an improv troupe with my drama teacher at the time.
Yeah.
And I was working at a cafe in Richmond called Grandma Funk's on Swan Street there in Richmond. And I was like a dishwasher, like a kitchen hand. And there was a girl that was like a couple of years older than me. And I'd done stand-up and improv like a few times, and I'd written some jokes. Mate, I honestly couldn't even tell you what they're about. Like, it's so mentally scarring for me that I think I've blocked it. I've like,
Your
blocked
first
out the
gig.
trauma. Mate, yeah. Anyway, so, like, this is all such rookie stuff, but I invited this girl that was a couple of years older, and we were flirting heaps. And I invited her to come and see me perform at the Comics Lounge. And we went out. And I'm shitting myself from the word go, and I've already put the pressure of being on a date, let alone going and standing on stage at the Comics Lounge. But I was young and like whatever, and went out and had pho first, and then we come out of the pho joint, and she pulls out like an absolute baseball bat, and she's like, "Do you want to smoke a joint?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do."
Are you
like
serious?
A fucking idiot,
How could you not know?
dude? Because I was like a habitual stoner, so I just thought like I'm funny when I'm high. You know what I mean?
Oh no!
So I got high, and then it was
by sentences,
bro. For lack of a better word, like it was a wog night, right? Like it was back in those days that I was just talking about before.
Oh,
so,
was it one of the Gabrossi Wog shows?
Well, it was kind of like that was what was big at the time, right? It wasn't like particularly one of those, but it was like a night. And I was like maybe third on, and the other two before me had killed. It was like a 21st in the front row, just all dudes. And I can't even remember what I was talking about, Johnny, but I came out.
Sorry, had they seen you before you jumped up? Were they aware
I'd
of...
done like improv and stuff there before, right?
So
and
they
like
gave you
I
a
think
go.
like a friend of mine was booking, and they just wanted somebody extra on, and like they were just trying to fill the spots, right? And so I came out. And I can't even remember what my first joke was, but like I said it and it just got nothing. And somebody in the front row just yelled out, "Your shit!" And like that got a way bigger laugh than anything I'd said. And like from there, I just slow death of 1,000 cuts, you know. It was brutal.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you save it at all?
Nah, God no. No.
Down.
I just down like I was stoned I was stoned as a mullet, you know, like I was fucked. And then I looked out into the crowd, and you could still smoke at that time in the Comics Lounge, and I saw this chick light a ciggy, and she just had a look on her face like, I'm never going to fuck this guy.
Oh,
as long as I live, you know, like not even a pity fuck. Like I'd just blown it so hard. And I came out, and I sat on the side of the stage there at the Comics Lounge, and a few of the dudes were like, "Mate, it's all right, you know." And then I came out to her, and I was like, "Oh, can we go?" And she's like, "Definitely, we can go. Like, let's go." And we jumped in a cab, and we went back to her house in the cab, and I thought maybe I'm still a chance. And we got there, and I went to open my door, and she just yelled to the cabbie like, "He's keeping going. He's going home."
Really?
And she paid for the cab and everything, and I sat in that cab.
It.
Yeah, bro, and that was that. That was my first time.
Wow.
And I thought that, like...
See, that fear has stopped me from bringing girls to gigs.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah, I just don't. I thought
I was the only person that had ever bombed, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, now, like, I listen to podcasts, and there's so many good... You can listen to all these stories about these comedians that I really admire, and them having shit gigs, and once you've gone and done a couple of shit gigs and you realise they're not as bad.
Shit, yeah, man. I mean, I fucking saw... And even my heroes, like, I saw Dave Chappelle do 3 hours in New York on a stool, and it wasn't glorious.
Yeah.
There was some fucking boring patches. Heaps of boring stuff. I saw Eddie Izzard bomb for like 25 minutes straight.
Wow.
I saw Michael McIntyre refer to notes and fuck up sentences.
Crazy.
And I realized they're not gods, man.
Yeah.
They're just like us. It's just your work ethic.
Well, and well rehearsed and well versed, right? Absolutely. Like that's one of the things about like when somebody sort of says like, "Oh, stand up looks easy." You're like like with that situation that was happening on Sunday night with somebody jumping in, heckling or whatever. It's kind of like you don't realize like how much work went into just like 5 minutes, you know, like just getting 5 decent minutes down.
Years, man.
Bro, it's crazy.
Years.
It's such a wild art form, hey. Like, it's really, really funny.
And it's just so underappreciated.
Yeah.
Someone could just, if they hate it, they just scream out. And, you know, they'd never go to an art gallery and see your painting and go, "That's fucking shit," to your face.
Yeah.
They'd give you the common decency to respect you. And under their breath tell their partner this is shit.
Yeah.
But only in a comedy club we can express ourselves like a painter, whatever's inside of us, and still cop it.
It's something like being a security guard or something like everyone wants to fight the security guard. Everybody wants to be the funniest guy in the comedy show, you know? Like everybody wants to be that hero that like gets that right heckle in or whatever. It can be really brutal.
That's true. And the other problem we have is if you're good at stand-up, you can make it appear simple and effortless and easy to do. And that's why people think it's easy.
Yeah.
For example, a lot of my friends are like, Carl Barron, he's so good, but he does nothing. It's just like his face, and then he does a fart noise, and then he talks about how fun he's farting when you hold him in on a date. And I'm like, yeah, just try it.
Yeah.
Try that fart bit on stage. See how you go.
Yeah, and you can be funny around your mates, you know, but when you're trying to, like, string that thing together. I mean, I did a story on Sunday night that was just about me taking mushrooms on a Zoom, which, like, you had a really great bit about you doing mushrooms, and then I did that story about me taking mushies on a Zoom. And I was lucky because I'd had a few tequilas by that stage. That's nothing that I'd written. That was just a true story. And I was able to flow through that bit because it was like, I'm lucky in that room because I know it's a really safe space for me, and I want everyone to feel like it's a safe space for them too. I hope that's the vibe, unless you've got your fucking DJ heckling you in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, eventually it will be safe. But yeah, there was like, oh God, like a few of us were like, oh fuck, is he going to interrupt right on the setup just before the punch?
Oh, bro,
you know?
I can't even tell you how, bro.
But like I said to you before, it's his bedroom, so we got to respect his bedroom.
Yeah, dude. Before, like when Bodrigi was just like an empty factory, and Stingray just had a mattress on the floor, dude. You know, like up in that room.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that room became kind of the unofficial office for a little while, and we had some raucous parties in that place before.
Oh, I could imagine.
It became a brewery. Yeah. Me and him used to host a 3-point contest. We had a basketball ring downstairs. There was like, it was an old auto shop, so there was just be a basketball ring and me and Stingray on a mic, and that was kind of what we were trying to emulate that night. But he'd had one too many golden sodas, I think. Like, I rocked up and he'd already had a fair bit of a buzz on. And I don't know about you, like I'm trying to do my show sober, right? Because I find that, I mean, you can't, like, if you want to be a carpenter, you can't just get drunk every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's relying on that kind of drunken courage. And so I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing this Sunday night. I'm definitely not drinking. And as soon as we started and he started, like, interrupting me and stuff, I was like, one tequila, por favor. You know? But it was still fun. Like, I spoke to a bunch of my mates and they were all like, oh, yeah, that was
it was great fun. I think going back to alcohol, I think alcohol can be like training wheels when you start off in stand-up. It's a little bit of Dutch courage to keep you straight. And then, eventually you got to push, stop drinking so you can just write proper bits and remember them.
Yeah, I suck at writing at the moment. Well, like, I'm just really working through writing at the moment. You know?
Do you write or do you just talk and...
Like, I talk into my phone. Like, I write kind of bits. Like, I'm not great at writing. Like, I'm better at, like, on the fly. I don't know. I write notes. I don't script everything. What about you? Do you write it, like, word for word before you get up there?
It's just a dot, like the whiteboard there, just dot points, and then, like, I'll walk in the room, and then I'll be washing the dishes, and one of those points will stick in my head, and I'll just talk it out loud.
Yeah.
And then as I talk it out loud, I'll carry it in my head, it'll incubate, and then at work I'll think about it because I do a brain-dead job, and it'll just pop.
Yeah, right.
And then I take that idea on stage, and then I try and squash it and remove unnecessary words.
Yeah.
And then refine it. And if I get it down right, I'll always record a gig.
Yeah.
And then if I get it right, I'll transcribe the gig.
Yeah, do you use a service for that?
No, I just listen back and write.
Bro.
Listen back and write.
Let me give you the hot tip. So when I did my original bit that I was getting together for Raw, like I got ADHD, right, real bad. And I also was smoking a lot of pot a while ago. So, like, the concentrating to write something down was just taking me ages. Man, there's a service that you can use. You just Google it, like, transcription services, like $7. They'll transcribe the whole thing. They'll email it back to you within the hour.
Even hardcore stand-up,
bro. They will give you like minute by minute when you got your laughs, and they'll split up your laughs, and they'll timestamp the whole thing.
Who are these autistic fucks?
No, it's just some guys in the Philippines, man. You know, you pay them $7 and they'll like listen to it for an hour or two. They're learning English or whatever, you know. And
next thing you know, in 5 years' time, there's a Filipino comic.
Yeah, and he's smashing out bits about wiping his cat's asshole and doing mushrooms. Yeah, exactly.
Stealing all our stuff.
And just absolutely murdering too.
Murdering, crushing.
Yeah, but yeah, like I love using that service.
All right. Tell me about it. I want to use it.
I'll look it up. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you Google it.
Send it to me.
Swear to God, it cost me like $12, man. And
and what's $12 by you? Half an hour transcribing or 5 minutes?
They'll transcribe the whole thing, man.
Even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it doesn't work by time?
I think my original bit that I did that I ended up breaking down for Raw, like so I had to get that into 5, was like 9 minutes.
Okay.
And so they transcribed that for like, I'm not kidding, like I'm pretty sure it was like $11.
All right, great.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It's an awesome service.
All right, good stuff. So take me back to South America. You told me that you lived there for 7 years.
Yeah, like 6 or 7 years I ended up there for. Yeah, it was awesome.
I was in the UK for stand-up. Why were you in South America? Was it just holidaying or?
Yeah, like so I left in 2011. I always really wanted to travel heaps, you know what I mean? Like it's like an itch in me. I'm always like, and I know everybody fucking wants to do that, but like going and living somewhere like that was always like a priority in my life. I really wanted to learn Spanish and all of this stuff.
Do you know why you wanted to just uproot and go and travel? Like, what was missing, you think? Another culture or
I reckon my mum passing away when I was really young, right? And she was really young. So I was 18 months old, maybe even younger when my mum passed away.
Fuck.
And she would have been like early 20s.
How'd she pass away so young?
She was in a car accident.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck.
And like a really brutal one, man, on Valentine's Day. The whole story, it's fucking sad as, you know. So it was me and my dad. My dad's my best mate. He just muscled through it, you know.
Fuck.
So I remember when I got to the age that she was when she passed away, it was a real kind of, it was almost like this reckoning of like, I've got to go and do some stuff. I've got to go and have an adventure, you know, like, without sounding too cheesy, but like it's such a blessing, right? Like this time that we have. So
it's
go
like
and do something.
You're picking up where she finished.
100%.
You'll go see it for her.
100%. So 2011, I left and came back in like 2017, 2018. And something like that. And yeah, like I went to South America. I was going to go to South America and then I was going to go to Canada. But I ended up going from Colombia to Panama. I sailed a boat from Colombia to Panama and we got shipwrecked on this boat. Like I'm not even kidding. We were stuck out at sea for days and days.
Did you sail it yourself?
Fuck no. Yeah, but I may as well have, because the bloke that we got sailing it, like he was like.
So your skipper was Capitano Incompetente.
Nah, well, yeah, exactly. Except he was Australian. He was just some bloke named Dave. You know, I didn't think it through at all. Dead set, mate. Dead set, and he was younger than any of us. He was like 21. I was only like 25, 26 at the time. So he was 21.
So is this like Star Wars? You just found someone to take you across the Dagobah system. You're like, I need someone to get me across, and it's like, I've got a ship.
100%.
Really? You've got a ship?
100%.
I've got a ship.
Yeah.
And Dave was hopeless as fuck.
He was Chewbacca, bro. Yeah, exactly. He was like Chewie, but his name was Dave. But I remember he had the mega curly hair, and I convinced everybody that this was a really good idea.
What sort of sailing boat did he have?
Bro, like a 40-foot fucking schooner, right?
Wow.
And like we took like...
That's decent.
It wasn't bad. We took like a couple with us, right? An Argentinian couple on their honeymoon.
How long did you sail?
It's meant to be. It's a really common thing to go from Colombia to Panama. You pass the Darien Gap, right? People can't cross that. Like even Cortez, when he came and conquered, he couldn't get through the Darien. He was one of... Yeah, they had real trouble getting through the Darien Gap. It's like jungle from Panama to Colombia. It's so dense.
So you sail.
Yeah.
And what's the distance? 1,000 Ks? Like from here to Sydney? Or?
Bro, I should have done this kind of research. You know what I mean? But like, fucked if I know. But in between...
What was it, 3 days, 2 days?
It's meant to be a 5-day journey.
Wow.
But you're meant to go 1 day of really rough seas, which is between Colombia and Panama. And then you have sort of 3 or 4 days dotting between these islands called the Sand Blas Islands. And they're like, still, the people that live in the Sand Blas Islands are like, they're like from another time, man. They're really tiny with like bones through their nose and like the whole bit, you know. Like the Panamanian government treats them like shit. They're kind of not even really recognized as Panamanian. It's really like sailing into another time. So I was really stoked about that because it wasn't something I knew about. You kind of learn about it on the backpacking trail. So I'd convinced this Argentinian couple. There was a couple from New York, my friend Dre, and a girl that he was seeing, and me. And I was like, let's go. We're going to sail this thing. And I like convinced everybody to go. And we were staying in Colombia, in Cartagena. And we were next door to us was these two old men were sitting in this tiny little shoebox of a shop with just a sewing machine each. And they'd been sitting there for like 35 years just repairing zippers and fucking, you know, like that was their whole job, right? Like in South America, you meet people that like that's their gig. They just have a sewing machine and they fix dresses and shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got them to make us like pirate outfits. Like that's how fun I thought this was going to be, you know, like. And I didn't speak enough Spanish to explain to them, like, yeah, I want you to make me look like a really sick pirate. So
instead of like lifeboats, have we got a life vests?
Bro, we didn't have any of that shit. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
I've got to get my pirate outfit.
100%. Pirate outfit.
Fucking idiot.
Liters and liters of rum and heaps of weed, right? Like weed in Colombia, mate. This is dead set. I remember the dude that we bought the weed off for the trip, right? We were going everywhere trying to buy weed, and we bumped into this old man. We're just stumbling through it. My mate Dre spoke a lot more Spanish. He was a white guy with dreadlocks. So, like, if you travel with a white guy with dreadlocks and you like drugs, then they're coming to you all the time. He's a magnet, you know?
Absolutely.
Once we were in the middle of we were on a jungle trek in the middle of nowhere. I swear to God, Johnny, somebody just popped out. You guys want to buy any acid? You know, like, fucking, where did this gun come from? We were in the middle of nowhere. And that's what traveling with a white guy with dreadlocks is like. So, this old dude came up to us and he was like, you want to buy some weed? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. We're going on this trip. We want to buy a big chunk. And he was like, well, give me the money and I'll come back. And I'm like, I wasn't born yesterday.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not kidding you. This bloke pulled out his false teeth and left his false teeth on the table.
Respect.
And was like, I'm not going to leave my false teeth behind.
Fucking respect. Were they the candy teeth or genuine?
Mate, they were like full on like in the fucking cartoons. Like they
Fucking
snap
love
like that. He whipped his whole grill out, bro.
Dedicated to the sale.
Dedicated to the sale, and like he pulled it out and he ended up God bless him.
Well, he had to. He's
fucking
He's got his chompers.
I don't know how much a pair of chompers costs in Colombia, but not as much as the weed.
Yeah.
So we had weed, we had liters of rum. We started drinking at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Gave you teeth.
He came back and got his teeth. We tried to give it to us to hold on to. Like, I remember holding on to this old man's teeth. And he was gone for a while.
Because in Australia, I've paid for petrol, I haven't got my wallet.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Pop those out at the
Back in
BP.
5.
I'll see you in 5. Yeah. Absolutely. And he came back. He was like, the guy took ages because he fucking could barely walk, you know. He was really old, but he came back with some really good chuff. Like, really, really good. You get ripped off a lot there.
Yeah,
so, boom, we were on. We had that. We had rum.
Okay.
We hadn't sussed out the captain. We hadn't sussed out any of the other shit, but I knew that I had a shitload of booze. And we were dressed like the pirate outfits came back. We looked like extras in like a musical, like an Elton John film clip. Like it wasn't, they weren't scary pirates. They were quite flamboyant, you know, a lot of frills and stuff. Penzance, baby. That's what I was looking for. And so, mate, we got on this boat like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Captain Dave on the rum.
Captain Dave, he was drinking, right? He didn't even bring the food inside the boat. That's how much he was blind, right? So
when did you realise, shit,
I'll tell you,
Captain Dave's not genuine?
Well, it wasn't right away, and I wish it was. Cause
well, if I saw my captain on the piss at 10 a.m, I'd be like, holy fuck.
He's like a 21-year-old Aussie. He was coked out of his fucking head. He was in Colombia, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, this is the best idea ever. It's so funny when you think back about that shit, because I was like, 25? Like, you're traveling, you're like, it's all going to work out fine.
About to go through rough seas.
2 days later, I'm like writing letters to my mum and dad, like fucking going to put them in a bottle in case somebody finds them and shit. That's how bad it got. Whoa. So, like, so we go out, we're sailing, and we left at like 10 o'clock in the morning, not a cloud in the sky, you know, and then we were drinking till about 1 o'clock. And there wasn't even enough beds for us on this boat. And I remember I fell asleep on the couch of the schooner, right, of the boat in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I woke up in midair with the kitchen drawer just coming towards my face, right? Because the boat had like fully tipped over.
Yeah.
And I'd been blind. And that's the worst way to wake up, man.
Fuck.
Like, kitchen drawer to the grill, bang. And then I was like, what the fuck's going on? Bang, back like that. Bang. And, mate, we ended up spending 4 or 5 days, like, stuck in this big storm like that.
So, did you when you woke up, the drawers in your face? Obviously, the reality would have hit that
Chaos.
Oh, shit, chaos. What did Captain Dave do?
He's out the back like fucking Lieutenant Dan
He's
in Forrest
fighting?
Gump. Yeah. Oh, he was giving it. Like, he was fair play to him. He was trying to have a crack.
So what do you in a storm so intense? I've heard you tear the sails down and you ride it out.
Yeah, so he didn't do that. We snapped the main sail right away, right?
Wow,
So
yeah,
he probably was
that's what
having a nap
happens.
as well, right? So we snapped the main sail, right? So we're running on that
Shit.
front little sail.
Yeah, is that called the jig?
Yeah, the jig.
Yeah.
Fucking no, I only learnt that on the day. We found out later he dropped a roll.
So you're running on a quarter power.
Exactly.
In layman's terms, basically.
Exactly. And I found out later he dropped a Rexona roll-on deodorant in the shitter, so the toilet was flooded.
Blocked. Oh, fuck.
That's it, mate. I couldn't stop. I'd never been seasick before. I couldn't stop vomiting. Nobody could stop vomiting. We were days like that, man. We were out there. And I remember...
So it lasted, 4 days?
About 3 or 4 days of being stuck at sea like that. I remember at one stage, like, so because we kind of just got swept out to wherever we ended up. So not necessarily in a storm the whole time, but kind of just bobbing away and like at the mercy of Mother Nature.
But by chance going the way you wanted to go?
Well, we were able to steer and we were following another boat.
Wow.
I remember fucking my mate Dre, right? White guy with dreadlocks, yeah? I remember coming out, the fucking water's everywhere. I've been vomiting heaps. I'm like, just giving him these ones. Just fucking roll one, Dre, you know, because I needed to stop vomiting, right? And so after a few days, like, Dave needed to have a rest. He was fucked, the poor guy. Like, he'd been sailing.
Did Dave have a radio? He could radio Mayday?
Yeah. We were radioing Mayday.
Any Colombians go,
That's how,
good luck, homie.
yeah, exactly, mate. That's how I woke up, was to Dre on the radio. No idea what was going on. He was like, Mayday? Mayday? I was like, mate, you need to bring a bit of urgency here, Jay. I was like, get on there. Mayday.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's what happens when you have a joint and call for Mayday.
Exactly, bro. So at one stage I came out and me and Dre are smoking a joint in the back of this boat. And I was like, how do you know where we're going? And he's like, I'm following the light on that boat.
Right.
And I was like, oh, beautiful. And then I was like, you sure it's not the light over there? Because there was a light over to our left.
Right.
And he was like, oh. And I looked up and I was like, that's a star. Like, we're following a star, cunt. We're halfway to Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been going like 6-8 hours. He'd been following a star instead of the boat. That thing had just drifted away. So we were out there for ages, man.
So you had to turn and follow.
Go back on course, mate. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Jesus.
Like, yeah, man. It was hectic. So anyway, from there I ended up in Panama, and I was like, I've just got to not move. Well, I'm going to finish this story because it's a fucking beauty. We ended up like snapping the mainsail. We're running on like that diesel engine as we're coming in to the one that you use to kind of park.
To go into port.
100%.
Yeah, to park.
Because we've got like clean. By the way, we've lost all the food because Dave left all the food out on the deck, you know? Yeah. So we're eating all we had was rice and like cans of tuna and veggies that we were cooking up on the thing.
And a block dunny by a deodorant
And a block dunny, like, mate, shit everywhere. It was brutal. We've just met all these people. These people are on their honeymoon. This beautiful Argentinian couple of my friends of mine, Joaquin and Luz, they're like the two people I care about most in the world. I love this couple. We're shitting in a bucket in front of them. I've only known them for 24 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's real, man.
It was real love, you know? Yeah. And that's their honeymoon. And they're divorced now, so that didn't work out great.
They had a rougher cease to sail.
They sure did, bro. They sure did. But anyway, this is a true story, right? So we come pulling into the Sand Blas Islands.
So can you take me back to that? So yeah, you basically for 3 days you gutted it out.
Yeah.
And the worst it got, the schooner, the yacht, for lack of a better, didn't tip over.
It was tipping like horizontally,
yeah.
But it managed to stay upright.
Okay.
Right? You know?
And the sail had snapped.
But we had the front one.
Did anyone go bananas?
Like, my God.
Yeah.
The mutiny was on. Like, we were all sitting in corners talking about this Dave dude and like how he'd let us down and he was going to kill us. And I'm not kidding you. I was writing letters to my mum and dad.
How was your mind throughout this? Were you like, look, we can't kill him. We can't throw him overboard. We can't harass him because he's the only one we've got to get us there. As shit as he is,
it's him or the white guy with dreadlocks.
None of us have an idea.
No one's getting us home, you know? So he was the one who had to do it. I remember once I'd fallen asleep, finally, And I wake up and he's screaming, Dave's screaming, right? And the seas had calmed right down, and I popped my head out of the hatch. I'd been vomiting. I just couldn't stop vomiting until we started smoking heaps of weed, which is really good for seasickness, it turns out, but also good for everything else. So I popped my head out of the hatch, and Dave comes running up. He's got his giant mahi-mahi, like a dolphin fish. You know what that is? It's like a fish with like a big domed out head. Looks like a big fucking alien, this thing.
Yeah.
But he's got massive. He's been running a line, and he's finally caught some food for us. Like he knows we're about to lose it at this guy.
Caught a dolphin.
Dolphin fish it's called. He's come running up and he's thrown it through the hatch at me, right?
Fuck.
Look at this, you fucking yeah! And he's got his thumb through its gills and it's popping its eyeball out, right? And he shoves it in my face and I'm just munted straight on the boat. And I'm just like, mate, get that thing away from me. I've never been so happy to see a fish, but at the same time, don't need to see this thing's eye, popping out of its skull. So anyway, he did some all right stuff. Like he caught us a fish and we ate ceviche for a couple of
How did you cook it?
With lime juice. He had a bag of limes. And no, like that was a little thing. So we just like...
I guess he still had functioning electricity.
Me and Dre loved to... No. There was a little... we had a gas bottle.
Gas bottle. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Me and Dre loved to cook, like my friend. So we were cooking up like, little tacos and all that without the tacos, just the fish. Anyway, this is...
Wow.
So we sail into the Sand Blas Islands. Finally, we're kind of just floating in, and there's this super yacht parked, like massive.
So the Sand Blas Islands are a chain of islands where there's no rough seas. It's calmer now.
Because you kind of start getting into little coves
it
and
breaks
stuff.
It up,
and like that's when we kind of knew that things were going to finally go okay.
Wow.
But then as we're pulling into this cave, finally the diesel engine just explodes, and there's black smoke billowing out, right? And we're running around like crazy. Dave grabs the boat, like the lifeboat, he throws it out, and it was like the Simpsons, man. He'd kept all his spearfishing gear in there, right?
Oh, no.
So it was covered in holes, and it just sunk us. And he's like, "Get in the boat!" And we're looking at it. We're all stoned as a mullet, right? And he's like, "Get in there!" And everyone's just ripped as like, "Fucking, what are we gonna do here?" And then he comes down and he throws from downstairs a loaf of bread comes up onto the thing and a thing of peanut butter, and he comes running up and he's like, "Get on the boat, everyone get on the boat." And I was like, "Hold a second, Dave, where the fuck is this peanut butter and bread been? I'm stoned as a mullet, you've been holding out on us."
Did he have his own stash of food?
He had his own stash of food, this guy.
Whoa.
I couldn't believe it.
That
bro.
deserves a mutiny.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And we're about to wash up into the rocks, right, into the coral and stuff, and everybody's arguing about what he's been hiding this peanut butter from us for, like we were dirty. So anyway, we roll in and there's this big super yacht parked.
So hang on a second, did you put out the fire?
Well, it was just, the engine was just like, I think it had just run out of water, had run out of everything.
Okay.
So it wasn't on fire. It was billowing smoke. We couldn't use it, so we had to turn it off.
All right, but it didn't manifest into a fire or anything.
Thank fuck it didn't, right? So, but this super yacht, there's no one on it. There's a crew on it, but the owners aren't on it. So they come and they like attach a little thing to us and they tow us into this kind of little cove, right? And
they must have looked at you guys
bro,
and
they
gone,
hated us.
What the fuck is this?
I'm still dressed in the same pirate gear from 5 days ago. I'm covered in vomit, like
there's a half-eaten dolphin.
Yeah,
on the deck. A jar of peanut butter.
Jar of peanut butter. We're all about to beat this guy to death with a jar of peanut butter, and so they towed us in, and then we were like, "Mate, can we have some food? Can we have some water?" And they just kind of snubbed us. They were like, "Nah," and they just went back to their boat.
Wow.
And they were like, "We can't believe you sailed through that storm. Like, we're here because that storm that you sailed through was so gnarly that we've been waiting it out for the last 4 or 5 days." They were like pissed at us for being irresponsible, And then, so from nowhere, old mate comes along, this guy, we see it like off in the distance, this little dot, and this guy comes along with this big canoe. And I'm not kidding you, man. They're like, these people, they're like, they're quite short and they have like a bone through their nose and all of that kind of vibe, but this guy he spoke Spanish, but a lot of them don't even speak Spanish. They speak their own language there and stuff like that. But this guy did, and luckily we had these Argentinians with us at the time. And he came through and, like, I'm going to sort of roughly translate, but he was just like, "Woo!" He was like, "You motherfuckers just sailed through that storm? Woo!" That's all I can remember. He just kept saying, like, "Woo!" Like he was blown away that we'd survived this thing. Because they obviously know what the ocean's doing out there.
Did you pop your head up and see the height of the waves as they
Bro,
were
they were
peak?
huge.
Yeah,
huge, man. It was like a movie.
I've read a few books on sailors going through horrible storms, and they reckon it's comparable to like skyscrapers coming up and then going down.
I wouldn't say it was like a skyscraper size, but it's like that block of flats next door here.
Yeah,
you
so
know what
about
I mean?
10 to 15 meters.
100%.
And
And then you're kind of at the mercy of it, right? Because our sail is
Absolutely.
literally snapped in half, like hanging down. You know?
So you've lost your main
Yeah.
thrust.
Yeah.
So that made you write a letter to your loved ones. What did you write in that letter? Like, what was that letter? Like, how soft and composed was it? How deep did you go?
Yeah, man.
Or was it
kind of
apologetic? Like, sorry for picking Captain Dave?
Yeah, exactly. Why did I trust this guy?
Yeah.
You know, like mostly it was. Yeah,
Don't bury me in this pirate outfit.
Yeah.
Or please bury me.
Please bury me. I said bury me in the pirate outfit.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no, it was kind of like to my mum, to my dad.
Now at this stage, you've
You're
lost your mum.
apologetic for that stuff. So my stepmom. I say my
Okay.
mum because she treats me like her son.
Absolutely, yeah. So you've written to your parents.
To my stepdad, to my dad, to my stepmom. It's apologetic because I felt like a douchebag because I'd brought all these people on this thing too, right? It was my call, you know? I'd really worked hard. I can be pretty persuasive when I want to be, and I'd really worked hard to get these guys to come on.
So you
this
kind of
thing.
owned up and said, look, I apologise for...
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm sorry, this is the way it's going to go. Because I didn't think they were going to hear from me, right? It's meant to be a 3-4 day trip. I was gone for 11, 12 days, like out at sea, you know? Out at sea and then in the Sand Blas, right?
Fuck, that must have been quite a moment, man.
Bro, it was
sitting down
scary.
and writing that letter.
100%, 100%. And also, like, it's like you're in there, you know, the waves are crashing around you, but not only that, you've smoked 3-4 baseball bats that day just to try and get through, you know, just to try and get through the seasickness. I was stoned as a mullet. So I was writing that. It was a sad time, but it's also like I really live for that shit, Johnny. Like I really like that edge of the human experience. At the time, I hated it, but now I'm really grateful for that story, right?
Absolutely.
I got to finish this bit because it's fucking wild, and I've never really, I've told a few people this, but it's a crazy story. So that guy came up, right, and he's got this canoe, and he explained to us that
The indigenous fella.
when you're young in your family, you and your dad will hike into the middle of the jungle on this island, and you'll cut down this particular type of tree, and you and your dad will hack away at it, and your brothers and stuff, and you'll build it into this big canoe, and you're in the middle of the jungle of this island, and then once the canoe is built, you get the whole village and they throw a big party and they'll all come and drag it through the jungle. And if it floats, it floats. If it sinks, you don't get another chance. You know what I mean? Because the whole village has come and helped you, right? And you've put on kind of a party. There's not much food there. There's only seafood and stuff you can catch. So this guy's been in this boat for like 50 odd years, right? He was old, this guy. And it's like he told us all the story of his boat. And then he was like, you know, he asked us if we wanted to buy any weed. He was trying to sell us weed. And we were like, we've got heaps of weed, but we really want something to eat.
This indigenous fellow.
100%.
I'm glad he had an economy going.
Oh, yeah. They all do,
Good
right?
on it.
So he's like, oh, I could get you some food. We were like, we want some fish. And he's like, dead set he's gone like that. You're looking out, there's nothing anywhere, just islands. And he's just giving a whistle. And from around this island came these two dudes on this rowboat, right?
Wow.
And they come around the island and they come up to us and they've got...
That's his app for Uber.
100%. That was Uber Sand Blas, right? And we just happened to be in the territory. And he comes up and these two guys come up. I'm not lying. They have the bottom of their boat is full of like fish. And we were like, how much for the fish? And they were like, oh, $1 each. So we bought, I think there was 20 fish. We just gave them a 50 because we had a 50 US on us. We would have paid anything. And then the dudes were like, do you guys want to buy any pure rock cocaine? Right? And I'm not kidding you because they call it, so from Colombia to San Blas in Panama, they call it white lobsters. The narco traffickers will take these really crazy speedboats and they'll drive the coke from Colombia to Panama. And if the cops get onto them, they throw it all overboard. It's all weighted down with these parachutes that go off once it sinks to the bottom. There's a parachute is timed and it'll bring all of these bags up, and then these guys in these indigenous communities find them and the narcos go back and buy them back off them. Like it's a whole economy over there, right?
Fantastic.
And I'm not even kidding you, this guy, you remember that movie Bad Boys with Will Smith?
Yeah.
Pulls a duffel bag under and it's like a silver brick like that, a brick, $100 for a kilo.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like, "Do you guys want to buy a kilo of Coke for $100?"
Take my money.
Oh, mate, it's one of the, we didn't because I hadn't eaten in so long that
Yeah.
I was like, it's probably not the best idea to just get on the bag right now. Like I
Yeah.
kind of miss it, and
Not
I
the
wish
right
that I had.
frame of mind.
No, exactly.
You just survived.
Exactly. And also, we knew that the military was coming because,
Yeah.
like, we'd been on the radio and stuff. So the military, we'd had a kilo of Coke, and old mate Dave, he would have got straight into it. You know what I mean? He was keen. He was the only one that was keen, but he had no cash on him. And I was like, well, go and find an ATM cunt because we're not pitching in for your rack right now. So anyway, he was so disappointed in us for not buying the Coke. This Dave cunt. I was like, mate, you almost killed us.
Probably the most sensible decision you made in the last 5 days. Maybe that was your that vindicated you.
100%. And it is, as an Australian that had been living in Colombia, like I didn't go there for the bananas and the coffee. You know what I mean? Like it was an experience. But then I went with my Argentinian friends. This guy, this old man, we ended up becoming really good friends with him. And he took us. He was like, I think there's a plane coming. Every now and again, a plane comes and like drops supplies off. And he took us into this island. And in the island, there was like all of these people. They live in this village, and there's one like old woman that runs the village, right? And it was me and this Argentinian couple and him. He like rowed us in, and he goes to this old lady. Like the place is set up like a big octagon, right? And in the middle is her store, and then there's all these other like shops and shit all around. And she's in there as like the bakery, the post office. Her shop is the shop. She's running the town, and she just had fat lines chopped out, fat lines of Coke, and she would have been like well into her 80s, and she's just doing Coke and barking orders at everybody and running the village and like coked out of her scone. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
And you found out later she was actually 23.
Yeah, exactly. She was 15. She was Dave's. She was Dave's mum.
Mum. Fucking hell, what a wild ride, man.
Yeah, so anyway, that was like from there I took a break. I ended up working for a friend's travel company, starting a couple of my own businesses over there, mostly just, selling bricks of cocaine. No, it was like I started a couple of businesses there and got stuck there for a bit, and I'm really grateful that I did because it was an amazing adventure,
Fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, bro. It was really, really cool. I mean, we could talk about it all day, but yeah.
Just come back again. We got to wrap this up.
We got to wrap it up, baby. Let's wrap it up.
Just plug Bodrigi and plug what you're doing during the comedy festival as well.
So we got On the Gags is coming up for the Comedy Fest. We're going to have a whole bunch of really amazing comedians from all around Australia. Johnny, I hope you'll come back and do another gig with us. It's really like the whole idea is if you're the type of person that gets the guide and wants to go and see some comedy and you always miss out, or you never know what to go and see, we really want to provide like some of the best comedians, ones that with experience and also up and comers. It's a really good variety. It's just different to the average comedy show. It's got tunes. It's got a smoke machine. It's got a disco ball. It's out there. It's a
great gig. The energy is inescapable. Once that gig starts, it's fantastic. Anyway, Eddie, thanks a lot for coming in, bro.
Johnny. Thanks so much
man.
for having me.